Hello everyone. Welcome to Confessions Jury, where people put themselves on the spot, waiting for your judgment. Sit comfortably and listen carefully, as you're about to hear today's cases. You hold the hammer and you apply the law. Let us have your verdict down in the comments section. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for leaving my mom's house and going to my dad's after fighting with my half-siblings about us not having the same dad? I, 16M, have a different dad than my half-siblings, 14M, 12F, and 11F. My mom is married to their dad, and the two of them act like I'm theirs, and like my dad is just some random dude I see every other week. They try downplaying the fact he's my dad and he has 50% custody of me. I told my mom before they should cut it out, and she said I technically have two dads and the one at her house is better, and I should be grateful he was willing to take me on and claim me as his. He told me I don't get to call another man dad in his house and stuff like that, which pisses me off and makes me want to do things that wouldn't be good. My half-siblings know I live somewhere else every other week, but they treat it like it's totally normal for someone to be with a non-parent half the time. They always tell me our dad lives there and I shouldn't call someone else dad. I found photos of my dad holding me when I was born and showed them, but they still acted like it was wrong. When I was younger, because of how bad things were, I asked my dad if he was my real dad. He said he was and reassured me that he had no doubts, but I was so frustrated by it that we did a DNA test and it proved he is my biological dad. I never told mom or let anyone in her family know because she would lose her shit on dad if she knew. But I know 100% he's my dad. Not my half-sibling's dad. And I know that being married to my mom doesn't mean he gets to push my dad out. It's getting harder to stay calm when this stuff comes up at my mom's house. Then we had an incident a couple of weeks ago and there's trouble coming out of it. I was at my mom's house and my half-siblings wanted to do something for their dad's 40th birthday. They wanted me to buy a gift from all four of us and I said no. They said he's our dad and he deserves it, and I said no, and he's not my dad. They called me a turd and made a huge deal out of me denying he's my dad. I told them they can't undo the fact my dad is my dad in every single way. I told them I don't even like their stupid dad and to get the fuck away from me. The youngest went to her room, but the other two stayed and said I was such a jerk and so mean and I should be better. My half-brother called me retarded and said I need to stop treating our dad like he's some random guy. He said our dad deserves way better, and he told me he wasn't going to stop and they'd steal money from me if they had to. My half-sister said they were too young to work or have their own money and he deserved something. I said he'd get nothing and that was too bad, so sad. They wouldn't drop it and even tried to force their way into my room, at which point I snapped and told them to get the fuck away from me, and I didn't give a crap about their dad. I called him a giant territorial asshole who can't accept his wife had a kid before she met him, and I said I'd rather be an orphan than be their dad's kid. Then I left the house and went home to my dad. He was shocked, but he helped me calm down. I refused to go back to mom's after that. She called the police and they asked me if I'd come home and I said not willingly. So now my mom has filed in court and wants dad to lose custody for not making me go back. I'm also getting so much shit for leaving and for fighting with my half-siblings, and when she found out why, she told me to find my gratitude for my real dad, and she means her husband. Am I the bad person? What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for telling my stepmother she was never important to me and telling my younger brother what she said? My dad and stepmother got married when I, 17M, was 9. My brother, 15M, was almost 7. Our mom had died 2 years before that. It was fast and all, but we did okay with it. My dad always had a bad relationship with our mom's side of the family, and when she died he tried to cut them off from us. But our grandparents were given visitation rights, and this was before he met our stepmother. When my dad and stepmother got married, it was pretty obvious she didn't like the visitation setup. My dad and grandparents used an app and they would ask for specific days, and he had to approve at least 3 a month. That was always how it went. We did get asked a lot when we went home if our grandparents had mentioned our stepmother at all and if they said mean stuff about her. We always told them our grandparents didn't talk about her at all and rarely mentioned Dad. We'd go there and do fun stuff, and sometimes we'd do something to remember Mom. But what they pictured those visits as was so totally different than what they really were. Mother's Day was a pretty bad day each year with that. My grandparents got Mother's Day the second year after Mom died and just before Dad's wedding. They'd ask for it every year, and my dad and stepmother didn't want us to go, but once Dad asked if we wouldn't rather spend that day with him and stepmother instead of grandparents, and I said I liked being with Mom's family, and my brother felt the same. So my dad approved it every year. My stepmother always hated it. They use an app for it, and it has its own calendar, and once the day has been approved, my dad can't reverse it unless my brother and I were sick. A while ago, my dad approved a date and then realized a few hours later it was my stepmother's birthday. She was angry, and while I was at my grandparents', which my dad and stepmother didn't know, she called and told them they had to give up the day and why. They refused. She went on this long rant about how she's tired of them acting like they should get any time with us and how they don't realize she's the most important woman in our lives, and she was equally, if not more important than Mom ever was, because we were so young when she died. She told my grandparents they were nothing, and sooner or later they would realize she would always come before them with us. It pissed me off. She had no idea I was there or that I could hear her talk to my grandparents like that. But I went home and I started yelling at her that I heard everything and how much she sucked for talking to them like that. Then I told her she was never important to me and she would never ever come before them. I said she's not my mom and I never even saw her as family. And I said if her and Dad ever divorced, I wouldn't stay in touch with her because she was never actually important. She was just there. My brother got home from his friend's house and I told him what she'd said. That made him angry too. When my dad got home and found out, he told me to apologize, but I didn't. We started therapy a couple of weeks ago because my dad and stepmother wanted the apology and for us to stop being different with her. They said it wasn't fair. My brother said she's not his mom either, and he wished Dad had never married her, and he hoped they'd get divorced because he didn't want to be in the same house as her anymore. This pissed my dad and stepmother off because I told him about the stuff she said. Dad told me I had ruined that relationship and had treated her badly when all she did was try to explain how she had raised us and had been a part of our life longer than Mom. And he said I took that and went nuclear on her. He said I should be more understanding than that. Am I the bad person? What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section, and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for refusing to take care of my younger siblings anymore? I, Beck, 16M, along with my twin sister Emma, 16F, am the oldest of 6 kids. Our parents, Michael, 45M, and Laura, 43F, have always emphasized the importance of family, but that has often translated into Emma and me taking on a lot of responsibility for our younger siblings. It's been this way for as long as I can remember. We have 3 biological siblings, Oliver, 12M, Sophie, 8F, and Ellie, 6F. About 2 years ago, my parents decided to adopt another child, Caleb, 4M, and last year, my mom gave birth to twins, Noah and Lily, 1F. So now there are 8 of us, and it feels like all the pressure of helping raise this big family has fallen squarely on Emma and me. Before Caleb came into the picture, things were already overwhelming. Emma and I basically helped with everything: homework, dinner, baths, bedtime routines. We missed out on a lot of our own childhood because we were busy raising our siblings. When my parents told us they were adopting, Emma and I were shocked. We tried to explain how much pressure we were already under, but they brushed us off, saying we were overreacting and that this was an opportunity to teach us responsibility. Then, when Caleb arrived, the workload doubled. And just when we were adjusting, they dropped the bombshell that my mom was pregnant with twins. Emma and I were furious. We begged them not to expand the family further, explaining that we were already stretched too thin. They told us we were being selfish and that as the oldest, it's our duty to help out. Now, with Noah and Lily here, I've hit my breaking point. I'm essentially a third parent. I can't go out with my friends without getting guilt-tripped. Emma had to quit her after-school drama club because my parents needed her at home to help with the babies. And whenever we bring up how unfair this is, my parents act like we're ungrateful and that family comes first. Last week, I finally snapped. My parents asked me to cancel plans to babysit again. I told them no, that I wasn't their unpaid nanny, and they needed to take responsibility for the family they chose to have. My dad called me disrespectful, and my mom cried, saying they've done everything for us and that we should want to help. Emma backed me up, saying we're tired of missing out on being teenagers because of their decisions. Now, they're barely speaking to us. Oliver overheard the argument and said we're being selfish for not helping out. I feel terrible because I love my siblings, but I don't think it's fair that my life is on hold because my parents can't manage the family they chose to have. So, am I the bad person for refusing to keep taking care of my younger siblings? You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.